It was supposed to be just another Love Island success story. A couple fans adored, millions of followers, cute TikToks, brand deals, the whole fairy tale. But behind the scenes, something much darker was brewing. Because what started as passive hate has now spiraled into something criminal. Private information leaked. Death threats. Exploited videos. Even calls for a hitman. And now, Nick and Alendria, better known online as Nicolandria, might be taking some of their so-called fans to court. It's become one of the ugliest turns in fan-driven cancel culture, and it's raising serious questions about what we allow on social media, and how far is too far. But it didn't start this way. And what's happening now might just change how influencers deal with online hate forever. Before the chaos, before the rumors, and long before lawyers were even mentioned, Nick and Alendria were just two standout Love Island contestants who did something most reality stars never managed to pull off. They made people believe. Believers in their love, their chemistry, their quirky side eyes and pillow talk. Fans didn't just root for them. They obsessed over them. After the show, they didn't fade into the influencer background like so many others. Their fanbase, quickly dubbed Nicolandrians, took off like wildfire. Every TikTok, every snap from their vacations, every clip of them just laughing together in a car? Viral. Their dynamic felt different. Nick brought the charisma and quiet confidence, while Alendria brought the unbothered energy, that beautiful balance of softness and fire. Together they became brand darlings, landing fashion deals, lifestyle sponsors, and racking up a combined following in the millions. In a world where relationships come and go as fast as a trending sound, Nicolandria appeared solid, refreshing, real. But that level of visibility, it comes with a price. Because while fans were pressing like, others were watching for cracks, waiting to twist every misstep into a scandal. And once the hate started rolling in, it never stopped. At first, it was just whispers. A few snarky comments under TikToks, shady tweets here and there, the kind of stuff that comes with any rising influencer couple. But then, something shifted. What started as online criticism snowballed into a full-blown hate campaign. We're talking burner accounts created for the sole purpose of dragging Nick and Alendria. Group chats filled with people dissecting their every move. Fans turned haters spreading rumors with zero proof, just screenshots with no context, recycled lies wrapped in new packaging. Even random clips were twisted into narratives. Nick only likes her for the fame. Alendria is using him to stay relevant. They're probably already broken up but faking it for deals. The commentary wasn't just negative, it was personal, invasive, and disturbingly coordinated. But here's where it gets weird. Some fans weren't hating because they never liked Nicolandria. They were once obsessed with them. They loved the couple. Until that love turned into entitlement. And when Nick or Alendria didn't respond the way they wanted, or when the fantasy didn't match reality, they flipped. Fast. That's when the conspiracy theories started popping up. Fake DMs. Accusations made out of thin air. People claiming they had insider info about breakups or scandals, but never providing a single shred of proof. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It became obsession. Fans who once built them up were now becoming the very force trying to tear them down. And as toxic as it already was, no one expected what came next. Because it was about to cross a line, one that couldn't be walked back. Criticism is one thing. Even online hate, as toxic as it is, sadly comes with the territory of fame. But what Nick and Alendria were suddenly facing was something else entirely. It went way past trolling. Their personal information, including home addresses, phone numbers, and the identities of close friends and family members, started getting leaked online. In doxing threads, on anonymous forums, and even in group chats that looked like fan spaces but were anything but. And then came the threats. Nick recently posted disturbing screenshots to Snapchat, where people were openly discussing hacking into his private accounts, and even talking about deleting him. And yes, they didn't mean unfollowing. What's worse? These weren't just passing comments from anonymous trolls. These were people with entire conversations dedicated to figuring out how to reach Nick in real life, speculating on where he'd be, and encouraging others to show up. Someone even warned him that people were trying to get into his NYC events, where safety was already a concern. Alendria wasn't spared either. Multiple attempts were made to dig up her family's contact information. Her TikTok lives were flooded with disturbing messages. People in anonymous group chats boldly talked about hiring someone to take care of them, barely hiding what that meant. Think about that. Reality TV contestants, now under threat in real life, not because of anything they actually did, but simply because a group of strangers on the internet decided they didn't deserve peace. This is no longer online drama. It's harassment. It's targeted. It's criminal. And finally, the question everyone was starting to ask became impossible to ignore. Were they going to sue? At first, most people brushed it off. Legal action? Over tweets and DMs? That's just influencer talk, right? But then Nick said something that made everyone pause. How do you even sue an account with 0 followers and no posts? Is that a thing? That one sentence said it all. He wasn't joking anymore. He was looking into it. And honestly, why wouldn't he? The messages were openly violent. The constant doxing wasn't just invasive, it was putting real people in real danger. Even fans were starting to say it. At this point, I hope Nick and Alendria press charges. Just sue one of them as an example. Turns out, they wouldn't be the first. Just a year ago, Cardi B made headlines when she sued a YouTuber for defamation, emotional distress, and invasion of privacy, and won millions in court. That case changed how celebrity harassment is handled online. And with this level of abuse, Nick and Alendria might be heading down the same path. Alendria's stance was even more direct. In a recent TikTok live, she didn't sugarcoat anything. I don't play that. My piece is too expensive. I'll lawyer up for real if I have to. You could feel the shift. What once felt like petty gossip was clearly now a legal minefield. These weren't influencers shrugging off hate anymore. They were documenting, collecting, and preparing. Because this wasn't just about clearing their names. It was about sending a message to the entire internet. You can't keep hiding behind fake accounts forever. And just when it felt like the drama couldn't go any deeper, a years-old video was dug up. One word in that clip would explode the internet, even though Nick didn't say it. If there's one thing the internet never forgets, it's a receipt, even a fake one. Just as conversations about lawsuits started heating up, something suspicious surfaced. An old video clip featuring Nick and his friends, where someone loudly dropped the N-word. Immediately, the narrative exploded. Nick got caught saying a slur, cancel him. But there was just one problem. It wasn't Nick who said it. The video, originally posted by one of Nick's friends years ago, suddenly reappeared in anti-Nick group chats, and even when users in the chat admitted it wasn't him, they pushed to spread it anyway. One person posted, "False alarm, Nick didn't say it." But minutes later, someone else responded, "Post it anyway. They won't know." Let that sink in. They knew it wasn't real, and still tried to use it to destroy him. That wasn't accountability. That was calculated sabotage. The clip made its rounds, getting reposted with misleading captions, igniting outrage from people who hadn't seen the full context. And once the cancel train gains momentum, people stop asking questions. But that wasn't even the worst part. In these same chats, people started emailing brands Nick was working with, trying to get him dropped over something they knew wasn't true. Some even reached out to other influencers from the show, begging them to release statements denouncing Nick, knowing full well it was built on a lie. It wasn't just a smear campaign. It was a hit job. And oddly enough, it looked familiar. Because they'd pulled this move before, with another creator whose career was nearly destroyed by the same kind of mass-manipulated narrative. And now, they were coming for Nick. Nick might be the current target, but he's not the only name being dragged through the mud. Because once the cancel narrative starts rolling, it never sticks to just one person. Soon, anyone connected to Nick, Friends, collaborators, even people who barely interacted with him, started getting pulled into the storm. Alendria, of course, caught the worst of it. In the eyes of the haters, standing by him made her just as guilty. And that's when a new theory started making the rounds. Nick gets away with everything because he's dating Alendria. People began accusing her of protecting him, enabling him, even going as far as saying she was covering up his behavior to keep their brand intact. But let's be real, these weren't critiques. They were excuses to tear her down, too. Screenshots started circulating claiming Nicolandria was a PR relationship. Threads accused them of faking their romance for brand deals. Haters dissected every minor move she made, who she liked on Instagram, who she didn't comment back to, whether she laughed too hard in a video. It didn't matter what she did. To these people, she was guilty by association. And then, a pattern emerged. The same tactics used against Nick were suddenly being used against Kenny and Jana, another Islander couple. After their breakup, people exposed Kenny for allegedly faking his relationship while secretly being racist. Accusations that spread like wildfire, true or not. Now the haters were updating old photos, captioning them out of context, fueling fake relationships and fake conflicts, anything they could twist to hurt reputations. Because for them, this wasn't about justice. It was a game. And the more damage they could do to the people around Nick, the better. As Nick's name continued surfacing in controversy after controversy, a familiar question started echoing across timelines and comment sections. Why hasn't Alendria said anything? To some, her silence was loyalty. To others, it was complicity. Fan pages once devoted to hyping up Nicolandria flipped into Conspiracy Central, claiming Alendria was covering for Nick or standing by him to protect their joint brand. People started stripping away her agency, as if she couldn't have her own opinion, as if there was no way she could still support Nick unless something shady was going on behind the scenes. It wasn't about facts anymore. It was about the narrative. And in that narrative, Alendria couldn't possibly be loyal. She had to be a co-conspirator. But here's the irony the haters ignored. When it came to real accountability, Alendria never hesitated to speak her mind. She made it clear in live streams that she doesn't tolerate disrespect on or off the screen. "You don't come up here bothering me," she said during a recent TikTok live, with visible frustration in her voice. "My peace is too expensive." And she's right, because while strangers play courtroom in the comments, she's the one who's had to shield herself and her circle from threats, rumors, and twisted stories. Let's be honest, if Nick was really guilty, even his fanbase wouldn't protect him. Not in today's culture of instant backlash, where influencers get cancelled for a facial expression taken out of context. If there were proof, actual evidence, receipts that couldn't be denied, fans wouldn't be quiet. The real issue isn't whether he did it, it's that he didn't. And they still won't stop coming for him. And that's when it hits you. This obsession isn't about accountability at all. It's about control. Haters want to dictate who deserves public support, who's allowed to succeed, and who gets silenced. And when someone doesn't fold under their pressure, they come twice as hard. By now, the lines between fact and fiction were completely blurred. Accusations were being recycled, screenshots were being doctored, and outrage became the new currency. In group chats pretending to be fan spaces, users were editing old photos, distorting audio clips, and crafting entire storylines designed to go viral. Not because they were true, but because they were effective. That's the thing about modern cancel culture. It doesn't need evidence. It just needs engagement. And the people behind Nick and Alendria's harassment knew exactly what they were doing. They weren't just haters, they were architects of a takedown campaign. Strategically pushing misinformation, tagging brands, coordinating mass reports on his socials to trigger flags. Some were even sharing contact lists of PR reps Nick had worked with, methodically targeting them one by one. It was like watching a digital witch hunt unfold in real time, with mob justice replacing real justice, and rumor carrying more weight than truth. And the worst part? The people watching didn't care. Not really. As long as there was drama, dirt, and someone trending for the wrong reasons, The hate train kept moving. Friends of Nick's who tried to defend him were immediately attacked or labeled as enablers. Neutral influencers who chose silence were accused of being secretly complicit. It became a toxic chain reaction. Either you denounce him publicly, or you become their next target. It wasn't about holding people accountable anymore. It was about creating a narrative they could control, and punishing anyone who got in the way of it. Because the more attention those lies got, the more power these anonymous accounts had. Retweets turned into receipts, and silence turned into guilt by default. By now, the question wasn't what did Nick do? It was, how far were they willing to go to make people believe he did it? Online drama is one thing. We've all seen a celebrity get dragged, a scandal blow up, or a Twitter trend spiral out of control. But this wasn't just digital noise. This was real-world danger created by complete strangers with too much time, too much hate, and zero accountability. People weren't just tweeting insults anymore. They were showing up to Nick's events, attempting to infiltrate venues, and openly discussing security loopholes in group chats. One fan even warned him privately that others were making plans to show up in person, knowing full well how unstable and dangerous some of these people could be. We're talking about literal physical threats, being organized online like it's a game. But it's not a game when your friends and family need to change their phone numbers, when you have to hire armed security, or when doxed information leads to strangers knocking on your door. And the people behind it. They truly didn't care. To them, hurting Nick and Alendria wasn't just entertainment. It was a mission. A project. Some kind of twisted justice they thought they were delivering on behalf of the internet. When influencers talk about online hate, they're usually talking about comments, dislikes, maybe some cancel hashtags. But what Nick and Alendria are facing is on another level entirely. This is obsession that's crossed the screen. It isn't about calling someone out for real harm, it's about making up harm, then trying to ruin someone's life over it. And the terrifying part? This kind of behavior is spreading. We've seen it before, spirals of hate that start from a rumor and end in actual violence. People stalking influencers, swatting them, invading their personal lives, all in the name of accountability. But when the people causing harm claim to be fighting for justice, who gets to call it what it really is? Harassment. Planned. Illegal. And now, the internet is divided. Some say Nick should fight back. Some say he should walk away. But others, they think it's time for something even bigger. A lawsuit. And accountability for the cancellers themselves. After everything, the death threats, the fake videos, the doxing, the hate campaigns disguised as justice, the question that everyone's asking now is simple. What do Nick and Alendria do next? And will it even matter? Because here's the hard truth. Even if they expose every fake receipt, prove every rumor false, and press charges against the worst offenders, the damage is already done. Brands are panicking. DMs are full of hate. And part of the internet has already made up its mind. Guilty, because someone on a burner account said so. But for Nick and Alendria, this might only be the beginning. Sources close to them are already hinting that real legal steps are being considered. Not just for defamation, but for doxing, threats, and emotional harm. And if they pull the trigger, it could set a new precedent. We're entering a time where cancel culture isn't just memes and comment sections. It's becoming a battleground, where false accusations could finally carry real consequences, and where regular people behind fake profiles may no longer be as untouchable as they think. But here's the bigger, scarier question no one wants to ask. What happens when being a fan turns into being a threat? When people start believing they own you, your posts, your privacy, your reality, and will destroy you for not living up to their script? Because no matter what you believe about Nick and Alendria, one thing's clear. This situation has gone beyond accountability. It's exposed something broken in how we interact online. A culture that rewards outrage more than truth. That turns rumors into headlines and strangers into predators. So now, the internet waits. Watching and speculating if a lawsuit is coming, if the influencers will break their silence again, or if this is just the new normal for anyone with a platform. But what Nick and Alendria choose to do next, that might not just change their story. It might change how all of us think about cancel culture, obsession, and the real cost of going viral. At the end of the day, this story isn't just about Nick and Alendria. It's about something much bigger. Because what started as gossip turned into a coordinated takedown. And what should have been a moment of growth for two reality stars became a cautionary tale for every influencer who dares to exist online. This wasn't accountability. This was obsession in disguise. And whether or not lawsuits are filed, whether justice is ever served, this situation forced a question we all need to sit with. When does holding someone accountable turn into destroying someone entirely? Because if cancel culture has no room for facts, for proof, for innocent until proven guilty, what are we even fighting for? So now, it's your turn. Small Blue Diamond, do you think Nick and Alendria should sue? Small Blue Diamond, have cancel campaigns gone too far? Small Blue Diamond, or is this just part of being famous in 2026? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but keep it real. We're not here to spread hate, we're here to talk about it. And if you're ready for more deep dives like this one, into the drama, the digital chaos, and the stories no one else wants to unpack, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because trust me, this isn't over yet.